over 60 years, the city of Cincinnati has been living with unusual reptile visitors. They skitter across rock walls, hide in our gardens, bask in the sun, hunt insects, and avoid curious cats. We've adopted them as our city's own, painting them on murals and carving them into carousels. But what are these creatures and where did they come from? From urban legends to scientific sleuths, on this episode of Pop Wild, we will be investigating the mysteries of the Lazarus lizard. Let's get this out of the way right off the bat. Lazarus lizards are not native to Cincinnati. And in fact, Cincinnatians are the only ones who call them Lazarus lizards. In the rest of the world, they're referred to either as common wall lizards or European wall lizards because they're from, guess where? Europe. And where do you think a wall lizard would like to live? Walls. Well, really rocky terrain in general, sunny and south-facing preferred, with lots of nooks and crannies to hide in. Lazarus lizards have hard scales on their head to help them burrow, and they can climb walls vertically. The ones that we usually see in Cincinnati are tan or brown in color, although you might see a little bit of yellow and green, and they're about 5 to 9 inches long, including the tail. They're able to be successful here because the climate is much like their home in mainland Europe. They also have few predators, although cats or some birds may catch them from time to time. And they have a special ability to drop their tail when in danger, which confuses would-be predators and lets them escape. Lazarus lizards mostly eat insects, but they'll eat other things too, so there's lots of potential food sources for them. If you see one, there's likely many more nearby. In some areas of Cincinnati, the density is up to 1,500 lizards per acre. So how did European wall lizards get here in Cincinnati? For decades, urban legends and rumors circulated about their origin. Here are a few of the most popular.
Legend number 1. A wealthy local family, the Lindners, accidentally brought the lizards back in a plant after one of their many visits to Florida. Legend number 2. A World War II serviceman brought them home as a souvenir from Italy after Victory in Europe Day in 1945. Legend number 3. A young boy on a family vacation in Switzerland loved the lizard so much that he smuggled a few into his socks and brought them home.
Now, there are some serious problems with these stories. For one, the lizards are native to Europe, not to Florida, and they probably didn't arrive until the 1950s. But that Switzerland one? Turns out it wasn't too far-fetched. In 1989, a man named George Rao wrote a letter to scientists at the University of Cincinnati with a bold confession. As a young boy in the early 1950s, he had vacationed with his family in northern Italy. Seeing some super cool lizards slithering around, he couldn't resist stuffing a few into his sock and flying home with them. Upon arriving home in Cincinnati, he released the lizards into his backyard here on Torrance Court in East Walnut Hills, now unofficially known as Lizard Hill. And the name? George Rao was the stepson of Fred Lazarus III, of the well-known Cincinnati family who owned the Lazarus department stores. So how do we know that George Rao's confession wasn't just another story? Well, we have a very special guest with us today who put the sock theory to the test. Hi, Cassandra. Thanks for being here.
It's great to be here.
So tell us a little bit more about your research.
When I started my grad research, what I was really interested in was invasive species ecology. I was really interested to find primarily if there was a bottleneck present in the population.
So what do you mean by a bottleneck?
A bottleneck is where you have an extreme reduction in genetic variation in a population, usually following some sort of could be like a traumatic event, like some sort of natural disaster, or just a general disease goes through the population, or maybe the species gets moved in a sock across the continent.
So how did you go about testing?
So we had a large pool of genetic samples from the Cincinnati population already on hand in our lab. And then we had some collaborators send us samples from Italy, and we were able to analyze those and look for differences between the two populations. The big thing we found was that, yes, in fact, the population did go through a bottleneck. We suspect perhaps as few as 3 individuals are what survived to form Cincinnati's population of common wall lizards.
Everything is just from 3?
Yes, that's what we think.
How did your genetic testing prove or disprove George's sock theory?
Well, it's definitely a possibility. I think it would be really interesting to get more samples and be able to say it with a little bit more confidence.
What are people still hoping to learn about Lazarus lizards?
I think the big question is, are they invasive? In that, are they going to bring some kind of harm to our community? And I think we just don't know. There's a lot of research left to be done.
Thanks so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
In 60 years, we went from having 3 lizards to a lot of lizards. But as Cassandra said, there are still a lot of questions to be answered about these creatures and how they affect our area ecosystem. We do have 1 lizard and a few skinks that are native to Ohio. The eastern fence lizard, common 5-lined skink, broad-headed skink, and the little brown skink. But while these native reptiles tend to live in undeveloped areas, like the forest here at Cincinnati Nature Center, Lazarus lizards prefer urban areas. They're what scientists call culture followers because they go where people go. But how far will Lazarus lizards spread? Will they push out native reptile species, or are they filling a different ecological niche? Maybe you can be the one to find out the answers. Although the story of how Lazarus lizards wound up in Cincinnati might just seem like another example of careless human behavior, it also gives us a glimmer of hope. It teaches us that our small actions can make a big difference, whether for bad or for good. Thanks for watching this episode of Pop Wild. Please remember to like and subscribe, and until next time, keep it curious.